The term Democrat shill or Democratic Party shill is a term that is thrown around quite a bit to describe people who I often call out as being part of the vote blue no matter who gang. As it pertains to the black community, these are the kind of people that no matter what they say or do, at the end of the day, all roads lead right back to the Democratic Party. Now with that, I'm one who is of the belief that there are actually two types of Democrat Party shills. Now, for starters, you have the Charlemagne the Gods of the world, who are completely bought and paid for. People like him and Trevor Noah, though they may say some things that sound good from time to time, they are still 100% part of the establishment. Under no circumstances will they ever waver from the Democrats or genuinely hold them accountable on a consistent basis. We saw proof of this last year when Charlemagne attempted to hold Kamala Harris accountable on his Comedy Central show, The God's Honest Truth, which led to Kamala quickly slapping Charlemagne back in line like a dog who is misbehaving, in which Charlemagne, like a good boy, immediately changed his tone.
They're acting like they can't hear me. Y'all see that?
I can hear you.
Oh, so who's the
I
real?
can hear you.
So who's the real president of this country? Is it Joe Manchin or Joe Biden, Madam Vice President?
Come on, Charlemagne.
I really-
Come on. It's Joe Biden.
I can't
No,
tell
no,
sometimes.
no. It's Joe Biden. And don't start talking like a Republican about asking whether or not he's president.
Do you think Joe Manchin is a
And
problem?
it's Joe Biden, and I'm vice president, and my name is Kamala Harris.
I just want you to know that Madam Vice President, that Kamala Harris, that's the one I like. That's the one that was putting the pressure on people in Senate hearings. That's the one I'd like to see more often out here in these streets. Thank you for joining us, Madam Vice President.
I'm glad to be with you.
Absolutely. Appreciate you. Give Maya my
All right.
love too, and Doug.
All right, you take care. Give your family my love. I want to see those babies.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Now, on the flip side of the Charlemagnes, you have the Killer Mikes. And I'm of the belief that though he was and possibly still is a vote blue no matter whoer, I believe that this is a road that he went down because he is one of those individuals that is of the mindset that he can make change from the inside. I believe Killer Mike fashions himself as the spook who sat by the door. But the thing is that in 2022 and beyond, there is no more spooking to be done. As our good brother Rob from the Blacklight Revelations YouTube channel always says, the only solution is world domination. And in order to dominate in any sense, you cannot do that from the inside. You have to do it from the outside, operating independently from the system that you wish to dominate and or destroy or disrupt. You cannot, I repeat, you cannot do it from the inside. And it appears that Killer Mike may be finding this out the hard way, as the very political party that he caped for so hard over the years have now turned their backs on him. Now you might be asking, what was Killer Mike's crime? Well, Mike is guilty of being a black man who had the audacity to think for himself. The initial crime that set everything in motion was when Killer Mike said something halfway positive about Georgia Republican Governor Brian Kemp. And this sent the vote blue no matter who crowd into a frenzy, which ultimately led to one of the most nonsensical hit piece articles that I've read all year, titled, "This Rapper is More Politically Dangerous Than Kanye West." Now, the synopsis alone, which reads, Killer Mike cozied up with Georgia Governor Brian Kemp and Senate candidate Herschel Walker, allowing legitimacy to their campaigns with the black community. It says all that needs to be said concerning how nonsensical this article is, as well as how manipulative and deceitful the Democratic Party is, as it pertains to you having the audacity of simply having a conversation with somebody that is outside of the Democratic Party. This notion that just because you met up with someone and had a conversation with them automatically means that you've legitimized them to the black community is ridiculous. No one individual can legitimize anyone. Let's remove Killer Mike from the equation for a moment and place myself in his position. If I were to interview Brian Kemp on this channel, does that automatically mean that I've legitimized him? Now that's a rhetorical question because the answer is obviously no. I can't legitimize anybody. All I can do is have a conversation with someone and either tell you what they told me or make the conversation public so everyone can see. And at that point, it's up to the people to determine whether or not the individual that I'm speaking to, in this case Brian Kemp, is legitimate or not. You, the one watching and or listening to this video right now, You're the only ones who have the power to legitimize or delegitimize individuals. But you see, the Democratic Party wants to remove that option from you. The notion that it is criminal to have a conversation with someone that you may disagree with on a position or two, in and of itself is totalitarian. And that is one of the chief problems that the black community is dealing with today. The problem of mentally breaking away from the dictatorship of the Democratic Party. If the position that an individual or an organization takes is truly the truth and the way, then you shouldn't have any issue bringing people over to your side. But if the position that an individual or an organization takes is based on deception, lies, deceitfulness, and wickedness, then yes, you would operate like the Democratic Party, who seeks to demonize anyone, particularly black men, but anyone who has the audacity to think for themselves and make up their own minds. And Killer Mike is now finding this out the hard way. Now, the opening of this article starts out with the first 3 paragraphs completely demonizing Kanye West. And after demonizing Ye for 3 paragraphs straight, the article then shifts, creating the parallel between Kanye West and Killer Mike, stating, "And then there is Michael Santiago Render, also known as Killer Mike, one half of the political rap group Run the Jewels. He's complicated, enigmatic, and calculated, and he is vastly more dangerous than Ye." During a recent appearance on Comedy Central's Hell of a Week with Charlamagne the God, Killer Mike praised Georgia Governor Brian Kemp for running an effective campaign. He added, "Kemp went to an all-black boys' school that's run by a conservative black man down in Albany, Georgia. He couldn't have been more proud of Kemp's work reaching out to the black community." Now, the writer of this article, Stephen A. Crockett Jr., is a liar and a deceiver, who, in my opinion, should be delegitimized himself by the people. Take into account what he just said concerning how Killer Mike praised and couldn't be more proud of Kemp versus what Killer Mike actually said and how he said it.
But in a state like Georgia, you have to meet people where they are for real. And what I mean is, I'm from Atlanta, and 15 minutes outside Atlanta is Georgia. Georgia's 35% black, 35% African American, which means the rest of the people not black, but they are poor, working, and middle class. The guy she's running against is running an effective campaign, and Brian Kemp is running an effective campaign. I would advise, if I was in Ms. Kemp's camp, you need to go everywhere he just went.
Ms. Abrams.
And Ms. Abrams, you need to go everywhere Brian Kemp just went, because what Brian Kemp did was have an effective week with black people. Wow. And I would love to see her do that, but if she doesn't, that ain't our fault.
Woo! Tara?
Now, did it sound like Killer Mike was praising Brian Kemp? Did it sound like he was proud of Brian Kemp? Or was he simply making an observation? So now, even making a simple observation, not supporting and not praising, but a simple observation, is being deemed as criminal by the Democratic Party, to the tune of you even being, and I quote, more dangerous than Ye. Now, if you needed any more proof that black Americans are mentally under the dictatorship of the Democratic Party, then listen to this. Killer Mike implied that Kemp's opponent in 2018 and this year, Stacey Abrams, needs to go everywhere Mr. Kemp just went, as if she's not leading in every statistical category among black voters. Now, here's where the extreme foolishness comes in. He doesn't seem to understand that Abrams is of the black community. She doesn't need to visit the community that she's a part of.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man? Bro, I'm out, man. That nigga's tripping.
Do you see how the Democratic Party truly believes that they are entitled to the black vote? This is exactly why in my interview with Tavis Smiley, who is a Democrat herself, I asked him, so all things considered, do we just simply owe them the vote, as it seems that they believe that we do?
No, we don't owe anybody anything except ourselves. We owe ourselves self-respect. We owe ourselves the right to self-determination. We don't owe anybody anything. The reality is, I think you know this, Brother Tony, the reality is that for too long, Democrats have ignored our votes, and Republicans have taken our votes. Let me rephrase that. For too long, the Republicans have ignored our votes, and Democrats have taken our votes for granted. Ignored by Republicans, taken for granted by Democrats, and nothing about that has changed fundamentally.
The Democratic Party is not entitled to the black vote. We do not owe them anything, but they honestly believe that we do. So much so that they don't even have to talk to us. Just shut up and vote blue no matter who. I'm going to read those last two sentences again. He doesn't seem to understand that Abrams is of the black community. She doesn't need to visit the community she's a part of. So the Democrats don't need to address the black community at all. And this is exactly the point that I was making in my video titled, Karen Bass Calls Black Americans Miserable and Refuses to Address Them in Her Los Angeles Mayoral Race. Now, I remember there were quite a few people in the comment section of that video who said that I was reaching. Well, am I still reaching now? Prior to that video, Karen Bass made absolutely no effort to reach out to the black community. All of her efforts were focused on almost exclusively the Latino community. Now, are you telling me that that was completely fine because she's of the black community and therefore doesn't need to visit the community that she's from? How ridiculous and insulting is that? But this is their thinking. Now listen to this nonsense. He's positioning himself as a black voice of reason instead of a shill for the Republican Party. So when Killer Mike spouts ridiculous claims implying that Abrams isn't doing enough black outreach, she's forced to answer despite it not being a concern. So making a basic observation now automatically makes you a Republican shill?
So who's the real president of this country? Is it Joe Manchin or Joe Biden, Madam Vice President?
Come on, Charlemagne.
Come
on. It's Joe Biden.
I can't tell sometimes.
No. It's Joe Biden. And don't start talking like a Republican about asking whether or not he's president.
Well, I guess so. And you know what? Now that I think about it, I think the problem is that black men are forgetting that they themselves are black. And like Joe Biden said on The Breakfast Club, if you don't vote Democrat, then you ain't black. Now, there's no need for me to continue beating a dead horse. In short, the article goes on to highlight how Killer Mike once met with Brian Kemp in 2018, and then goes on to speak on the interview that he did with Herschel Walker 5 months ago. And because of this, he's more dangerous than Ye. Now, I want to go back to this statement made by the writer of this article, to which he stated in reference to Killer Mike, he's positioning himself as a black voice of reason instead of a shill for the Republican Party. Translation, black men, stop trying to be smart and stop trying to make your own decisions. Brothers, please stop trying to be smart and just accept the fact that we're all just a bunch of cousin Pookies that need to fall in line with the Democratic Party. Because if we don't, we ain't black. We're just a bunch of Republican shills, just like Killer Mike is now for the moment being. So let's stop being a bunch of cousin Pookies and get out there this November and vote blue no matter who.
And after you voted, I need you to grab your friends and your family, round up cousin Pookie, make a plan to vote. Then after you've got your plan and you voted, you've got to help your friends and your family to make a plan to vote. Because I'm assuming if you are here, you are likely to vote. But cousin Pookie, I like Pookie. But sometimes he forgets stuff. So you got to get on him a little bit.
And with all that being said, that does it for today's video. So please make sure you hit the subscribe button as well as the bell notification next to the subscribe button so you'll be notified whenever I release a new video. All social media links will be pinned in the comment section below. And also, please make sure you text tdhiphop to number 33222. That's tdhiphop to number 33222. That way you'll get a text notification whenever I release a new video, but it also serves as an insurance plan for myself. So in case YouTube ever gives me the axe, I'll be able to send you a direct link to where you can find me next. And last but certainly not least, for those of you who have a love and appreciation for the work that I put in on this channel, the #1 way you can show your support is through Patreon. For only $3 a month, that will help put me in position to take TD Hip Hop Media off of YouTube. Remember, the goal is not to grow big on YouTube, but to grow independent of YouTube. And for those of you who have issues with joining Patreon, you can also hit the join button that's next to the subscribe button, and that way you can become an official channel member for as little as $3 a month as well. And lastly, If you haven't already, please make sure you join the emailing list. There is no way that I can go independent of YouTube if I cannot take the audience with me. And a link to that will be pinned in the comment section as well. Thank you for your time, and until the next video, peace.